Many years ago, there lived a young woman named Florence. She was beautiful, calm, and full of dreams. After her national youth service, she got married to the love of her life, Ifedayo. Their wedding was small but full of joy. Everyone who saw them together said they were made for each other. Florence and Ifedayo were deeply in love. They laughed a lot, shared everything, and talked about their future almost every night. Ifedayo had one big dream: to travel to the United States and build a better life for them. He had been processing his visa for a long time, and Florence always prayed for it to come true. One cool morning, as Florence was preparing breakfast, she heard her husband shout from the sitting room, "Florence, Florence, come and see something." He called out, waving a brown envelope in his hand. She ran out quickly, wiping her hands on her apron. "What is it? Why are you shouting like that?" she asked with a smile. Ifedayo lifted the envelope and said, "My visa has been approved. Florence, I got it. I can travel to America." For a few seconds, Florence stood still, her mouth open. "Are you serious?" she asked, almost in disbelief. "Yes, I told you God would do it," he said, grabbing her by the waist and lifting her up the ground in excitement. "Finally, all my waiting and prayers have been paid off." Florence laughed and held his face. "I'm so happy for you, my love," she said softly. But even as she smiled, something in her heart felt heavy. Ifedayo noticed it. "What is wrong, my sweetheart?" he asked, still holding her hand. She sighed quietly. "I'm happy, babe, but I'm already feeling your absence," she said, looking down. "Who will be there for me during this long pregnancy period? You know I'm already 2 months gone." Ifedayo's face softened. He pulled her close and stroked her head. "My love, please don't worry. We will always keep in touch. I'm not leaving you forever. I will work hard and come back for you and our baby." Tears filled her eyes. "Promise me you won't forget us when you get there." "I promise," he said firmly. "You and our baby are my word. Everything I'm doing is for our future." That evening, they decided to celebrate. Ifedayo went out and brought drinks. Some close friends and neighbors came around to rejoice with them. Music played softly in the background, and laughter filled the house. Everyone congratulated them, calling Florence American wife. But as Florence watched her husband laugh and talk with friends, her mind drifted. "He's so happy now," she thought. "But what about when he's gone? Will he still call every day? Will he still remember how we used to talk before bed?" Later that night, after everyone had left, the house became quiet again. Ifedayo sat beside her on the bed and placed his hand on her belly. "I can't wait to meet our baby," he said softly. She smiled faintly. "Just promise you'll be there when it's time to give birth." He sighed and kissed her hand. "I will try my best, Florence. Even if I'm far, my heart will always be here with you." And before long, it was time for him to leave. Florence could hardly sleep the night before his flight. She sat up in bed, watching him fold his clothes into a small suitcase. "Do you have everything you need?" she asked quietly. "Yes," he said, zipping the bag. Passport, ticket, documents, everything is ready. She swallowed hard. I wish you didn't have to go now. He turned and hugged her tightly. I know, but this is just the beginning, Florence. Soon I will send for you. We will live together again, this time in a better place. When morning came, they headed to the airport. Florence's eyes were swollen from crying the whole night, but she tried to smile. At the departure gate, she couldn't hold back anymore. She broke down in tears and clung to him. Ife, please don't stay too long. Promise you will call. He wiped her tears gently. I will call you every day, Florence. Please be strong for me and for our baby. As the announcement for boarding came on, he hugged her one last time. I love you, he whispered. I love you too, she said, her voice shaking. He picked up his bag and walked away, turning back to wave at her one last time. She waved too, her heart breaking as she watched him disappear through the crowd. When she got home, the house felt empty. His clothes were still hanging on the tray, his shoes still by the door. She sat on the couch and ran her head over her belly. He promised to come back for us, she whispered to herself, wiping her tears. He promised. The night grew quiet, and for the first time since her wedding, Florence felt truly lonely and alone, holding on only to hope, love, and her husband's promise to return. Months passed after Ifedayo left for the United States. Life wasn't the same for Florence. Every morning, she would wake up and look at his picture by the bedside. Sometimes she smiled, sometimes she cried. Her belly was now round, as she often talked to her unborn baby. Daddy is far away now, she would whisper, rubbing her tummy gently. But he loves you. He promised to come for us. Ifedayo kept his word. He called often, even with the time difference. Sometimes he would wake up in the middle of the night just to hear her voice. Hello, my queen, he would say over the phone, his voice full of love. Hey, love, Florence would reply, smiling even in her tired state. How's my baby doing? Your baby is growing strong, she would tease. Maybe he will kick next time you call. They would both laugh and talk until she fell asleep holding the phone. After some months, Florence gave birth to a baby boy. She named him Daniel. The day she told Ifedayo the news over the phone, he cried out of joy. Florence, thank you, my love. You have made me the happiest man in the world, he said, his voice shaking. I wish you were here to hold him, she whispered softly. I will hold him soon, I promise. I will come for you both. Things seems to be going fine until everything changed suddenly. One rainy evening, Florence was rocking baby Daniel to sleep when her phone rang. It was an unknown international number. She picked it up quickly. Hello, she said. Florence, it was Ifedayo's voice, but something was wrong. He sounded weak, scared. Ifedayo, what is wrong? You sound strange, she said quickly, standing up. He sighed deeply before speaking. Florence, I don't know how to tell you this, but something terrible has happened. Her heart started pounding. What happened? Talk to me. I have been arrested, he said quietly. They said I stole company's money, but I swear, I'm innocent. I didn't do anything wrong. Florence froze, arrested. What do you mean arrested? How? He explained everything in a shaky voice. He had been working as a salesman for a car dealership. His job was to take payments from clients and deliver receipts to the office. One day, a customer transferred money, but it never reflected in the company account. Someone inside the office tampered with the records and framed him. By the time they investigated, all the evidence pointed to him. I kept saying I'm innocent, he said in a broken voice. But no one believed me, Florence. They have sentenced me to 5 years in prison. For a moment, Florence couldn't speak. Her hand trembled so hard she almost dropped the phone. No, Ifedayo. That can't be true. You didn't do anything wrong. I didn't, he said firmly, his voice cracking. Please believe me. I don't know who did this, but I know God sees my heart. Tears poured down Florence's face. Oh my God, what am I going to do? How can they jail you? You're supposed to come back for us, Ife. Please don't cry, he begged. Take care of Daniel. Don't lose faith in me. I will fight this, even if it takes years. Florence sat on the floor, shaking. The baby started crying, but she could barely move. Her whole world felt like it was collapsing. That night, she couldn't sleep. She just sat by the window, staring into the darkness. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw her husband behind bars, helpless. The next morning, her best friend Ebere came to visit. Ebere had noticed Florence's silence and sadness over the past few days. Florence, you don't look fine, Ebere said softly. You haven't been answering my calls. What is going on? Florence tried to hold herself, but tears started flowing again. Ebere, something terrible has happened. Ebere sat beside her and held her hand. Talk to me, please. Florence looked up, her eyes red. Ifedayo has been arrested in America. They said he stole money from his company, but he's innocent, Ebere. I know him. He can never do such a thing. Ibere's mouth fell open. What? Oh my God, that is unbelievable. Florence nodded, crying harder. He has been sentenced to 5 years in prison. Ebere, 5 years. My husband is in jail for something he didn't do. Ebere pulled her into a hug. Oh, Florence, I'm so sorry. You don't deserve this. You've been through so much already. For the next few weeks, Ebere stayed close to Florence. She came around often, helped her with the baby, cooked meals, and encouraged her to stay strong. Sometimes, she would sit beside Florence and read out Ifedayo's letters. My love, one of his letters said, every night I close my eyes and picture you and Daniel. That is what gives me strength. Please, don't give up on me. Florence would clutch the letter to her chest, whispering, I won't give up, Ifedayo. I will wait for you. Life was not easy. Florence has to learn how to take care of her baby, pay bills, and stay strong emotionally. People around her started asking questions, some out of concern, some out of gossip, but she ignored them. Every evening, she would look at the sky and say softly, Lord, please protect my husband. Let the truth come out one day. And in the distance, behind coverts, Ifedayo sat on his narrow bed, whispering the same prayer. He held on to hope that one day the truth will set him free and he will finally return to his wife and son. 2 years passed like a long, quiet storm. Florence had grown thinner. Her once bright smile now appeared only when she forced it. The house that used to echo with laughter and phone calls had become painfully silent. The phone that once rang with Ifedayo's voice was now just a quiet object lying beside her bed. At first, the letter came often, then once a month, then they stopped. The last message she received from him was short. Florence, please pray for me. I am trying to appeal my sentence. I love you and Daniel so much. After that, nothing. No calls, no letters, no updates. Florence would sometimes sit by the window at night, clutching Daniel's small hands. He was now a bright 2 years old boy, full of energy. Your daddy will come back soon. She would whisper, her voice trembling. He's just far away, but he loves us. But deep down, her faith was breaking. One Saturday afternoon, her best friend Ebere came to visit again. She walked into the house and looked around. Clothes hung on the line. Daniel was playing on the floor with his toy. And Florence sat quietly folding baby clothes. Florence, Ebere said softly, sitting beside her. You have changed. Florence smiled faintly. Time changes everything, my friend. No, Ebere shook her head. This isn't time. This is loneliness eating you up. You are young, you are beautiful, and you are still here waiting for the man who may not even come back soon. Florence frowned a little. Ebere, don't say that. He's my husband. He didn't do anything wrong. I know, Ebere replied gently, but you have been waiting for 2 years now. 2 years, Florence. No calls, no letters. How long will you keep waiting? Florence looked away, her throat tight. What are you trying to say? I'm saying you need to move on with your life before you lose yourself completely. Ebere says seriously. Look around you. Many women whose husbands are abroad have moved on. They have someone who cares for them, someone who helps them. You can't keep crying forever. Florence stared at her in disbelief. Are you telling me to cheat on my husband? Ebere sighed. No, I'm telling you to leave. Get someone who can make you happy. Someone who can be there for you and Daniel. But be wise, Florence. Don't get pregnant. Just have someone who can take care of you until things are clear. For a long time, Florence said nothing. She just sat still, thinking. After Ebere left, Florence stayed by the window for hours. Her mind was loud with thoughts. Move on. How? With who? What if Ifedayo comes back and finds out? But what if he never comes back? Her heart felt torn in two. Just then, she heard a familiar voice outside. Good evening, Florence. It was Chica, her neighbor. He lived 2 houses away. A calm, respectful man in his mid-20s who always greeted her politely. He was carrying a bucket of water. Florence turned and smiled faintly. Good evening. How are you? I'm fine, ma. I just came back from the shop. You look tired. Is everything okay? He asked kindly. She hesitated, then nodded. I'm fine. Just thinking. Chica smiled again. You should rest more. You've been working too hard. If you ever need help with anything, please tell me. I'm always around. Thank you, she said quietly. As he walked away, something about his word stayed with her. If you ever need help, please tell me. They sounded so simple, but they echoed in her heart. That night, she couldn't sleep. She kept hearing Ebere's voice. Many women have moved on, and Chike's gentle offer of help. She looked at her reflection in the mirror. Her face looked older, her eyes dull from stress and sleepless nights. Am I really supposed to keep waiting? She whispered to herself. Daniel turned in his sleep, murmuring softly, Mama. She bent over and kissed his forehead. I'm doing this for you, my baby, she said softly, her eyes glistening. But how much longer can I hold on? The following day were strange. Every time she saw Chike, her heart beat faster. She told herself it was wrong, completely wrong. But something inside her longed for comfort, for someone to talk to, someone who could make her smile again. One evening, as she came back from the market, she met Chike again outside. You look tired, he said, standing up quickly. Let me help you carry your bag. She smiled weakly. It's okay, I can manage. He insisted. Please let me. You've been struggling too much. She let him help. They walked together to her door, talking lightly about random things, about the weather, the noise in the street, and Daniel's playful habit. It was the first real laughter Florence has shared with anyone in a long time. But when she got inside and closed the door, her heart pounded in guilt. She leaned against the wall, whispering to herself, what is happening to me? That night, she couldn't stop thinking about him. His voice, his smile, his kindness, they all replayed in her head. And as the rain fell softly outside, Florence sat by the window again, torn between loyalty to the man she vowed to love forever and the deep loneliness that was slowly swallowing her whole. Her heart whispered, just one friend to talk to, but her conscience replied, that is how it begins. Florence never planned for it to happen. It began innocently, with small talks, shared meals, and quiet walk down the street. But loneliness is a dangerous companion. It whispers things the heart is too weak to resist. Chike became her comfort, her peace in the storm. He visited often, played with little Daniel, and helped her with house chores. Soon, their friendship turned into something deeper, something forbidden. One night, after a long day, he came over to help her fix the light bulb in the sitting room. As he stood on the chair, their eyes met. Something unspeakable passed between them, a feeling they both understood but couldn't name. When he climbed down, their hands brushed slightly. Florence froze. Thank you, she whispered. Chike looked into her eyes. Florence, he said softly, you don't deserve to suffer like this. You've been alone for too long. Before she could respond, he gently pulled her closer, and everything changed from that moment. They fell deeply in love, or what she thought was love. The guilt was there, hidden behind every smile, every kiss, every whisper in the dark. But Florence convinced herself that it was fate, that maybe this was how her life was meant to be. Months went by, and the affair grew stronger. Chike became her ward. He started staying over more often, helping with expenses, making promises that made her heart believe again. Florence, He told her one evening as they sat together, "We can leave this country. We can start a new life somewhere far away. I will take care of you and Daniel." Florence's eyes light up with hope. "Leave the country? You mean it?" "Yes," he said, holding her hand. "Why should we keep suffering here? I have a friend abroad who can help us process everything. We just need some money." She hesitated. "But where will we get that kind of money?" He looked at her with a sly smile. "You said your husband had some properties, right? Land, maybe a car, house." Florence paused, looking uncertain. "Yes, but those are his things." Chike touched her chin gently. "And who are you?" "His wife. You have every right to them. Besides, he's not coming back soon. You have waited for years, Florence. It's time to build a future for yourself." Her heart fought between guilt and desire. But slowly, Chike's words started making sense to her lonely heart. Within a few weeks, they began selling Ifedayo's property, one after the other. A small piece of land, his car, and some furniture he left behind. His house. Each time the money came in, Florence trusted Chike completely. "Keep it in your account," she would say. "You understand how to handle money better." He smiled warmly. "Of course. Love, we are doing this together." And she believed him. She believed every word. They began making travel plans. Late night talks about the country they will go to, the house they will live in, the life they will start afresh. Florence finally felt alive again. For the first time in years, she saw light in her future. But what she didn't know was that Chike was already making his own private plans. Plans that didn't include her. Behind her back, he had started processing only one ticket for himself. He often sat in his room, looking at the document and shaking his head. "How did I get myself into this mess with another man's wife?" He muttered to himself one night. "I can't take her along. This will destroy me." He began to pull away emotionally. But Florence didn't notice. She was too busy packing up and dreaming about their supposed new life together. One evening she asked, "So, when are we traveling?" "Soon," he said quickly, avoiding her eyes. "Just a few more papers to finalize." "Do you need me to come along when you submit them?" "No, no," he said with a forced smile. "I will handle everything. Just get ready. Very soon, you'll be out of here." Florence smiled, feeling hopeful. "Chike, I don't know what I would do without you. You came into my life when everything was dark." He nodded slightly, guilt creeping up his throat. But he forced a smile and kissed her forehead. "I will never forget you," he whispered, but the words carried a different meaning in his heart. Early that Sunday morning, Chike woke up restless. He sat on the edge of his bed, rubbing his head. He whispered to himself, "I must travel on Wednesday. I can't let Florence stop me. I have already arranged everything. She will think it's Saturday, but I will be gone before then." He stood up, opened his small wardrobe and brought out a brown envelope filled with documents. Inside were their travel papers. Though Florence's name was not on it, only his. He smiled weakly and said, "I can't believe I got myself into this mess with another man's wife. It's better I leave quietly before things turn against me." Meanwhile, Florence was in her sitting room, folding clothes and humming gently. She was counting days down to Saturday, believing that her new lover Chike would finally take her out of the country. She had even started dreaming of their new life together. But that same morning, Far away in another city, Ifedayo stepped out of a police van. A free man. He had been proven innocent. The truth came out that his co-workers had framed him to cover their theft, and the real culprits were caught. The company felt guilty and paid him a huge compensation. The amount was enough to change his life completely. Ifedayo couldn't wait to go home. He told his lawyer, smiling, "I want to surprise my wife. She suffered a lot because of my absence." He contacted a car dealer immediately and requested 3 brand new white SUVs to be delivered to his house the next morning. By Monday morning, around 8 o'clock a.m., the quiet compound suddenly became noisy. 3 shiny white cars drove in, one after another. The sound of their engines made everyone peep through their windows. "Who owns these fine cars?" one of the neighbors asked. "Maybe someone important moved in," another replied. Florence was in the kitchen, frying plantain, when she heard the noise. She came out. "What is happening outside?" she asked. Chica, who lived a few doors away, rushed to his window and started peeping. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. "Who are these people again?" he muttered nervously. Then one of the drivers came out of the car and knocked on Florence's door. "Knock, knock." "Good morning, ma," the driver said respectfully. "Yes, good morning," Florence replied, looking confused. "Please, are you Mrs. Ifedayo?" She froze for a moment. Yes, I am. What happened?" "These cars are for you, ma," the driver said with a smile. Florence's eyes widened. "For me? From who?" she asked, stepping back slowly. Before she could ask further, the door of the last SUV opened, and a tall, fresh-looking man in a black suit stepped out. His face was brighter, his body more built, his eyes calm and sharp. It was Ifedayo. For a few seconds, Florence stood still, staring at him like a ghost. Her lips trembled and her hands began to shake. "Ifedayo," she whispered in disbelief. He smiled warmly. "Yes, Florence, it's me, your husband." Before he could take another step, Florence screamed faintly and fell to the ground. Ifedayo, one of the drivers, shouted as they rushed to help her. Chica, still watching from his window, held his head in shock. "Jesus, he's back. He's really back," he cried. His hands began to shake and sweat rolled down his forehead. Ifedayo knelt beside his unconscious wife, holding her gently. "Florence, wake up. It's me. I'm back. I didn't do it. I told you I was innocent," he said softly, tears forming in his eyes. The neighbors began whispering, everyone shocked. "What kind of drama is this?" one asked. "Na film we dey watch so?" another added. Ifedayo carried Florence into the house, still weak and confused. As Chica stood behind his curtain, watching in fear, one thought filled his head: my game is over. That same night, after Ifedayo's shocking return, Chica couldn't sleep. He paced around his house, restless, sweating and terrified. He muttered to himself, I'm finished. He is back. Florence's husband is back. If he found out what I did, I'm gone." Without wasting time, he packed his small travel bag, gathered all the money he had, and hurried to the park. He switched off his phone and threw away his SIM card through the window. By midnight, he was already a night bus heading to Lagos, disappearing without a trace. Meanwhile, back home, Florence slowly opened her eyes on the bed. Her vision was blurry. She turned and saw Ifedayo sitting beside her, holding her hand. His eyes were swollen from tears. "Thank God you are awake," he whispered softly. "You fainted when you saw me. I have missed you so much, Florence." Florence looked at him and burst into quiet tears. Her hands trembled as she tried to speak, but no words came out. "Please don't cry," he said, brushing her hair gently. "It's over now. I'm home. I was cleared. I was innocent." But Florence couldn't stop crying. Each tear carried guilt, guilt she couldn't explain. She turned her face away, and he held her hand tighter. "What is wrong, my love?" Ifedayo asked softly. "You should be happy. I came back for us. I have money now. We can rebuild everything we lost." But Florence's silence was heavy. She couldn't tell him what had happened, that she had betrayed him, sold his property, and trusted another man who ran away with their money. The next few days were hard. Florence was quiet and distant. She would sit by the window staring into space. Sometimes she would cry quietly when she thought Ifedayo was looking. Ifedayo tried to cheer her up. He took her out, bought her new clothes, cooked for her sometimes, but nothing changed. One evening, as they sat together, he asked softly, "Florence, are you hiding something from me? Please talk to me. You have not been yourself since I returned." She shook her head, tears already rolling down. "No, I'm fine," she whispered. He frowned gently. "You are not fine. You don't sleep. You don't smile. What is it, Florence? Did someone hurt you?" She broke down again, covering her face. "I'm sorry, Ifedayo. I'm so sorry." Before he could ask more questions, there was a knock on the door. Knock, knock, knock. Ifedayo got up to open it, and a man in a blue shirt stood there with a paper in his hand. "Good evening. Are you the occupant of this house?" he asked. "Yes, I am," Ifedayo replied. "How may I help you?" The man handed him the paper. "Please, this is a notice to quit. The new landlord has taken full ownership. You have 2 weeks to move out." Ifedayo froze. "What? What new landlord?" Florence gasped, her heart pounding fast. She quickly stood up, shaking. "Notice to quit?" she asked, trembling. "Yes, ma," the man said. "The previous owner sold the property 2 months ago. Didn't you know?" Ifedayo turned sharply to Florence. "Florence," he called in shock. "Did you sell this house?" Her lips began to shake. She tried to speak, but her voice broke. I can explain." "Explain what?" he shouted in disbelief. "Florence, tell me this is not true. Did you sell our home?" Her tears fell like rain. She knelt down, shaking her head. "I didn't mean to. I thought—" "You thought what?" Ifedayo interrupted, his voice cracking in pain. "You thought I would never come back?" She covered her face, crying uncontrollably. "I was lonely. I was confused. I didn't know what to do." He stepped back, staring at her in shock. "Florence, what did you do? What happened to you? Where is all the money? Where are my other properties?" She couldn't speak. She only cried harder, whispering, "He deceived me. He left me." Ifedayo's voice changed completely. He turned away, running his finger through his head. "So, you sold everything for a man?" he asked in disbelief. Florence fell to the floor, sobbing bitterly. "I'm sorry. Please forgive me." But Ifedayo stood there, staring at her, his eyes empty. The house felt colder, heavier, like all the air had been taken away. After a long distance, he said quietly, "I went through 5 years of prison, thinking of you every day. You were the only reason I survived." He paused, his voice breaking. "And now I come back to find that I lost everything. My home, my trust, and my wife." Florence crouched to him, holding his leg, crying, "Please, Ifedayo, forgive me. I was weak. I made a mistake." He slowly removed her hands, his face filled with quiet pain. "You didn't just make a mistake, Florence. You broke me." He turned and walked out of the house, leaving her on the floor, crying bitterly. the sound of her sobs echoing through the walls of the house that no longer belongs to them. That was the night Florence realized she had lost the only man who truly loved her, not because he stopped loving, but because her action had built a wall too heavy for love to climb. And as she sat there alone, holding the notice paper, her tears fell again, not for the house she lost, but for the home she destroyed. The end. Patience is a proof of love. True love waits, even when the journey seems long and uncertain. Loneliness is not an excuse for unfaithfulness. When you let emotion control you, you may end up destroying what you once valued most. Never betray someone who trusted you with their heart. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild, no matter how sorry you feel afterwards. Secret only makes things worse. Florin's silence and lies created deeper pain than the truth ever could. Money and pleasure fade, but character remains. The choices you make when no one is watching reveal who you truly are. Be careful who you let into your life during your weak moments. Not everyone who comforts you cares about you. Some come only to use and destroy. A faithful heart will always be rewarded. Don't trade long-time love for short-time excitement. What looks sweet in the moment can become your greatest regret tomorrow. Thank you for watching this story. Hi besties, what moral lesson did you learn from this story? Kindly share your thoughts with me in the comment section. Like this story, share this story to someone who might be interested, and subscribe to this YouTube channel if you've not done so by now. Until I bring another story your way. Bye for now.